Happy Thursday, everybody, and welcome to Mystical Awakenings with Deb and Arjay.
Hi, everybody.
We had a beautiful, beautiful sunny day today, and I'll tell you what, the sunshine couldn't be more accepted because it's been so cloudy and so dark and dreary for so long. I just love this, and we were like 55 degrees in the middle of Michigan
in February.
Wow. So it's been a wonderful day, and we're super happy to see everybody.
We're going to keep that sun shining tonight.
Yes, we are, because we have an amazing guest. We had the opportunity to talk to him a little bit before the show, and man, I'm just
we're stoked.
So excited to bring him on. You guys are going to love him. He's guaranteed to open some minds and some hearts and give you information that is so needed.
So our guest tonight is Wally, Wallace Wagner, actually. And we're going to be discussing how having a UFO experience will change your life, even as a minister. He's the author of 2 books, and I heard he's working on another one, Crossing the Crevasse in 2020, and recently Within Grasp. Wallace was born in the small coal mining town of Logan, West Virginia. He now lives in Virginia. He received his bachelor's degree from West Virginia University in 1981. He did graduate studies at the University of Charleston and Marshall University. He has gained a unique understanding of the Bible from 40 plus years of study and meditation. Wallace has a keen eye for looking at the Bible through a different lens. Having interest in crafts, example UFOs, UAPs, etc., the Great Pyramid, legitimate craft circles, eschatology, I think that's how you say it. I'll have to ask him, and the Bible. And Wallace's studies have led him to Egypt, Israel, Portugal. In 2016, he had his own sighting of the white Tic Tac variety, representative picture on front of his cover of his book, in the town of Bedford, Virginia, which caused him to critically reevaluate his conservative Christian teachings. He now realizes Jesus should be looked at more as a teacher, and the Bible, as written, is not what it's purported to be. So welcome our guest, Wallace Wagner.
Hi, Wally.
Hi, guys.
Welcome.
Hi, Deb, RJ.
So nice to have you here. Thank you for
glad to be here.
On.
You're welcome.
We loved your bio. Tonight was actually the first time we've ever had the opportunity to talk with you. And
well, I've enjoyed it immensely thus far.
So I got to go back to that word, eschatology.
Eschatology.
Eschatology. What is that?
Have you heard of Perusia? It's the study of prophecy.
Okay.
Pertaining, to the Bible primarily.
Okay.
I was a Bible geek, still am a Bible geek and a Jesus geek. So
it's an interesting
work
book.
in a little prophecy.
Yeah.
So, Wally, can you give us just a rundown of what was the biggest thing that happened in your life to make you go, okay, I'm switching gears? and you did.
Well, the biggest thing was seeing the white Tic Tac over my head for about 3 seconds. That eventually changed my world. It was 2016. I was a mailman at the time. I had just made a delivery here in this county, and I was going back to my vehicle, and something or somebody, however you want to view that, told me to stop and look up. And that's exactly what I did. And over my head was what we now know as the white Tic Tac variety of craft. It appeared solid, no windows, no wings, no nacelles, should not have been there. It was not a blimp, although I had all this stuff in my mind.
Right.
It let me see it for about 3 seconds.
There you go.
And then guess what? It's not there anymore.
Right.
And, I've questioned where it went. Did it cloak? I mean, we have cloak crafts in the Bible. Did
Right.
it take off so fast I couldn't see it? But if it did do that, the little cloud beside it was not disturbed. I know there's reports of crafts that it can actually melt the clouds from the heat, like the one
Yes.
in Chicago at O'Hare, for example.
Yes.
Make a donut in the clouds. But this did not do anything. So then the other alternative is, well, maybe it went into another dimension.
Right.
So it's going to have to be one of those three.
Yeah.
But
Well,
then the questions start, is it ours or is it theirs? And that's something I've been battling with. And I've really come to the conclusion it makes no difference.
right. Because if it's ours, where did we get that technology, right?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
how long have we had it? And what are we doing with it?
Right.
So,
Yeah, that's. We definitely got that from somewhere. If it's even if it's ours, but and that tells you, well, if we have that, then how far out there have we gone?
Well, I've questioned that as well. I'm wondering if we're not out there already. In fact, I'm pretty sure we are. If you believe the former president of Lockheed Skunk Works, Ben Rich, I mean, we've already been to the stars. We took ET home, and this was back in the early '90s.
Right. And even the Germans, it says that they created a flying saucer themselves, so they got the technology from somebody. And thank God they couldn't put weapons on it yet. I guess they couldn't figure that one out. But people say they're the ones that flew over the White House in 1952, and when they had the pictures of it, just letting them know, hey, we're here, we got this. But they didn't have the resources, so obviously they came here. Project Paperclip, whatever it was, and then NASA was created.
Yeah, it was Paperclip.
Yeah,
from World War II.
Yeah, and so there, all the stuff that they do, we wanted to know too. But I just don't think they told us everything they had. So
yeah, don't you wonder whatever happened to the purported bale that was inside the circular facility that was there? Sometimes makes me think of Kecksburg. Wasn't that little acorn that fit inside there? Just little food for thought.
Yeah, and then there's the rumors of the actual clips they say they have, the videos of that they established themselves down in Antarctica, and Admiral Byrd went down there, and they did figure out how to put weapons on it.
Project High Jump. Was that
right? Exactly.
Yeah, 1946 or 7.
Yeah,
right after the war. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And so
we came back with our tails between our legs. That's exactly what happened.
Exactly. And then there's rumors that they even they're on the moon, on the other side of the moon. So we'll see what's going on there. But all the stuff to come out. I was watching one of your podcasts. One interesting thing you made me think about disclosure. You were talking about disclosure, and why don't we have disclosure? Well, you had a good point. A lot of people on this planet are not going to be able to handle it. So think of jobs, think of because you're a Star Trek fan, I know. I am too.
You got that right. I remember 1966.
Oh, yes.
First episode.
Yeah.
I was in the fourth grade, and I was riding my bike, and I had to hurry home to get to that TV, to claim the TV.
What year were you born?
I was born in 56.
Okay,
so I was 10 years old when the 66 first episode came out.
And I was 9. And, my dad walked by and says, "Do you like that stuff?" I said, well, yeah. And little did he know, it's still be going today. But so, think about this, how do you tell, because around here we have a lot of farmers. They've done this all their life, family. I mean, they're this is their life and their work. Mm-hmm. How do you tell somebody that we don't need farming anymore because we have replicators? The new technology that's there waiting to come in, all the jobs that we do on this planet, we won't need, like the medical department. I really believe that, if you believe in the Anunnaki thing, that they had technology to reverse aging. How do you tell people in the pharmaceutical business, you really don't need you anymore? How do you tell people in the forestry department that we don't have to build houses out of, you were in the forestry. We don't need it to build houses anymore.
At this point we do, but
But eventually, that technology is there.
That's
We're
3 reasons. Let's get into where you used to work.
Right.
Don't
General
need
Motors.
cars anymore and don't need oil anymore. That's the
Exactly.
kicker.
Exactly.
That's going to be the big thing.
Yeah. So these people really have they really have a reason not to allow it because because it's going to change everybody and the money's going to go and we won't need money anymore really because there's free energy. If we won't need consumers, or we won't need ET, we won't need this stuff if we have free energy. And
Well,
yeah,
think about manna.
yeah,
Didn't that come from a replicator? You might think
right.
it
And
kept them alive for 40 years. Well,
Yeah.
with some quail a little later, but
Right.
I mean, everything in Star Trek that was barely imaginable at the time is now proven to be it's
Yes.
reality.
Yes.
Whether it's a fax machine or a CD or a cell phone or
Flip
you
phone,
name
yeah.
it.
Yep.
Taser, phaser,
Yep.
laser.
Yep. I think they were getting us ready for what's coming. So, and you see shows that are like that. So, but it's interesting. I know people like us would love disclosure to happen, but it just can't happen overnight because there's a lot of people won't be able to handle it. That's obvious.
Right. And I believe, Wally, I'm wondering how you feel about it. I believe it is happening the way it's supposed to be happening. It's not supposed to be this big, poof, they're here, they've landed, they've taken, you know what I mean? We've been evolving into opening up our minds and our hearts. I mean, look what you went through with your discovery of, maybe what I believed in all my life is not the way I thought it was. Suddenly we realize we've been lied to. And, I understand how that is. I tell people I'm a recovering Catholic.
I feel for you, RJ. Deb and RJ. I feel for you if you mention that word, but I can talk for an hour and a half on the history of the church. So
Yeah.
Well, and that's where I'd like you to go.
I'd like you to go there because I that was my last thing about disclosure. The biggest thing is how do you explain it to people, the religions, and how do we get past that?
I think it will happen when they want it to happen.
Right.
And the honest answer is I don't know when it will happen. That's the honest answer.
Yeah.
But like Deb said, I think we're getting drips. And it could very well be, since I believe in the Galactic Federation and I believe the Space Force was something just to take pressure off of all the sightings we're seeing. I think we've already been out to space. So
yes.
With that, it could very well be some combination of some of our majestic people or cosmic people that have the 2 highest security clearances. Our president is only in the middle. There's at least 20 steps above him.
Yes.
Going all the way up to majestic people that need to know. It could be a combination of them. And releasing the information. And there's another line of thought that would be a false flag invasion.
Yes.
I've considered that, and I've heard that mentioned in quite a few realms that things are going to get so bad here that's the one thing that could draw us all together, kind of like the Ronald Reagan speech at the UN, would be to have a common enemy for the whole world, whether it was fake or not. And lastly, I've considered, Jesus comes back and all eyes are going to see him. And I believe he comes back in a craft and there'll be thousands of crafts with him.
Yeah.
And that may be what we consider to be the second coming.
Right.
And that may be when people's hearts fail them.
Yeah.
That's mentioned in Luke. But I see all this as them basically picking us up and taking us to the place that they've already prepared for us, because this world, we've already made it so bad that basically uninhabitable anymore. So That's kind of what I see along those lines.
Right.
You want to get me started on the church history, Deb?
Yes, please.
Everything's an agenda, and it's been that way since all the male canonists put the books together and agreed upon a common canon, and had Jerome, put it together in around 400 Common Era, or 400 AD. It was all a ruse. First of all, God, whoever you want to make out to God, is not a he, and it's certainly not one person. It was Elohim who came, and Elohim is plural. Okay. Yeah. Elohim can either refer to El, who was the chief Canaanite god. It wasn't Yahweh, it was El. Joshua made the Ebenezer to El. He did not make it to Yahweh. And this El had 70 children. I'm fully convinced of that from all the studies I've done. He had siblings. One of them was Baal. Another one was Yahweh. Another one was Mot. Another one was Anet. And the list goes on. Yam, depending on where you can pull all the information in. And most of the information these days comes out of Syria. That's all we've discovered thus far. And it's biblical. That's the main thing. All these gods, if that's what you want to call them, from El, his children were all given parcels of land, and they was all split up, and each one became a god of their land. And this is all played out, in the book of Joshua. You might cross a river, and you're into another god's land. You may cross a mountain, you're into another god's land. You go to Egypt, you're in another god's land. And that's how all this worked. But Yahweh was the only jealous one. And you got to read into that as you wish.
Yeah.
Yahweh was a local god, most likely the god of the Kenites, is what my studies have told me. There's some alternative theories out there. He may have been the god of the Shasu, which was basically a nomad tribe, out in the desert. But most likely he was involved with metallurgy and copper. And we found that to be true now. We're uncovering sites north of Jerusalem where there was actually copper smelting going on. And there's a couple places in the Bible that says he was the war god and he actually came from Seir. And that's also part of this area that was known for copper. So it's funny what sticks on the wall. Things mesh, mold, gel, change over time. And it all worked out to where Yahweh just intermingled with El, and then Yahweh took over, and Yahweh became the God of Israel. And that is mentioned multiple times all throughout the Old Testament, that he is the God of Israel. Not the God of the world, the God of Israel.
Right.
That was the land he got.
Yeah.
And so, now you have to ask, well, what about his 69 siblings? Who are, where are they? Who's their God? And then you get back up and realize, well, wait a minute. There's gods all around the world. This God came in a spaceship for sure. Yahweh flew in a spaceship for sure. Spaceships are now, brought to life throughout the Bible for me. Right. We've never been alone, and the ships have been seen since before the time of Christ.
Right.
And Hinduism was in existence 400 or 500 years before Judaism, right. And it was something that was bad. Why didn't God go there and change it? It never happened.
Right.
Jesus was a Jew. He was born to a Jew, born to the Jewish nation, born to glorify the law and whatever. And everything was focused right there around the Levant. And that's all it is the semicircle, or what we call the Fertile Crescent, right there around the Mediterranean. And that's all that's in the Bible, really. And taken that and made it as it's king of everything. It's for the whole world.
Yeah.
And the Aborigines in Australia had their gods, China had their gods, Peru had their gods. The list goes on and on and on. Around the world, and they most all came in ships, and they most all could fly, and some of them had special tools like, or you might say implements, or you might say weapons, like Thor, for example. Hermes could fly. Solomon could even fly. If you read the Hebrew Nagas, and the list goes on. So all this is stuff you don't hear in church and Sunday school. I mean, your Bible tells you firsthand that there's cloaked crafts. I mean, with Elisha, when his servant, he prayed that his eyes would open, and they opened, and here were all these chariots of fire around him. And without a doubt, chariots of fire are, guess what? Crafts.
Yeah.
Chariots of fire are crafts. That's what swooped down to get Elijah. It's exactly what Ezekiel saw. And we have proof of that. For people that want proof, look at Zechariah 6.
Yep.
There we are told that chariots are spirits. Spirits is one of those words in the Bible that has multiple meanings. Hebrew had 7,500 words. We have, by some estimates, 170,000 words in the English language. Now, what does that tell you? Lots of the Hebrew words have different meanings.
Yeah.
And that's some of the problems that transcriptionists and translators have had, is what to attach to this word to make it work in this setting. And that's how we get so many different, translations of things. Yeah. Spirits, for example. The spirit of Elohim moved across the waters. We're in the first part of Genesis. Many of the Bibles say that the spirit of Elohim hovered across the waters. The spirit of Elohim. Elohim is plural, men and women, males and females. That was a craft, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Absolutely, without a doubt. And we know it was a craft because you can call it a chariot of fire if you want. It's the same, the same thing. The Spirit of God. Now, how do you see the Spirit of God when God is a spirit? Two different things right there. And this is in every translation. The Spirit of God descended upon Jesus when he was baptized.
Right.
And that was a craft without a doubt. It was like they likened it to a dove, but some of the books that did not make it into the Bible said it was actually a metallic looking sphere with light radiating out from it, much the same as Ezekiel saw, with a metallic interior. And then you switch over to the New Testament, and for me, I read this, 30, 40, 50 times before it actually clicked. Revelation 4:1-2. A door opens in heaven. Now, how does a door open in heaven? I mean, this is literal, guys. This is one place where it's literal.
Yeah.
And then a voice comes out of that door and says, come up here, not down here, not over here, come up here. And he went up, John, this John that wrote the book of Revelation, he went up into the Spirit.
Right.
He did not go in spirit. He went up into the Spirit. And that is in every translation, 50 some of them that I have.
Yeah.
He went up into the Spirit. And then what happened? He was flowing around the heavens, and he got to see stars and whatnot with the woman giving birth and constellations and all this and that.
Right.
Without a doubt, these crafts have been with us since day one.
Right. Right.
I'm rattling. Sorry.
No. I love it.
No,
I love it. I
okay.
do want to say something really quick. So you said these are things you don't hear in Sunday school. Well, when I went to Sunday school, some of that was heard, and I was kicked out of Sunday school.
Poor child. Were you excommunicated from Sunday school?
Yeah.
I was.
Yeah, she was asking questions way back then, but
Yeah.
So what do you think about the Star of Bethlehem now? With the Magi were following this thing. That was probably a UFO too, right?
Well, I made three good points when I wrote Crossing the Crevasse, RJ. One was about spirit, one was about glory, which we haven't talked about. Another one was about stars. So it's interesting that you say that.
Yes.
Stars is one of those words that has multiple meanings. If you were alive back then, you would look up into the sky. Any light that you saw, any light would be considered a star. That's the only word they had for it.
Right.
If you go back to the book of Judges, chapter 5, verse 20, I believe it's called the Song of Deborah the prophet.
Yeah.
It goes like this: from the heavens, the stars fought. Now, how do stars fight? I'm just asking. From their courses, they fought against Sisera. And Sisera
Yeah.
was the head of the Canaanite army at that time. So,
Yeah.
how do stars fight? They were lights in the sky and they were moving. The Star of Bethlehem, the same thing for me. The shepherds' light shone around them that did not come from a star. At that time, right there, I've been to the fields of Ruth, right there, very close to where Jesus was supposedly born, right there in Bethlehem.
Right.
There was a craft in the sky at that time, and
Yeah.
that shone the light down around,
Yeah.
only around, just like a flashlight, the shepherds. Same thing happened with Paul on the Damascus Road. A light appears in the sky, shines down around him. It doesn't light up like lightning. These were focused beams of light.
Right.
Back to stars, the book of Jasher is mentioned twice in the Bible. I'm trying to remember where it is, Joshua and Second Samuel, I believe. And it's really the story of Abraham's father, Terah. And it's when Abram is born that night. There were people at Terah's house, namely some people from, I guess, the Far East, some people related to Nimrod, and the wise people.
Right.
And the night that Abram was born, they went out and looked up, and they saw a show in the sky. A big star from the east moved and absorbed four other stars. This was the night Abraham was born. And the wise men amongst them said, this is a sign that Abraham is going to be wise, be profitable, have lots of children, and his name will be known throughout the earth. So, I mean, that's how they interpret these things.
Yeah.
That was not stars, needless to say. It's some type of craft,
Some type of
as
crap.
probably seen on TV, absorbing or releasing other little balls of light. And go ahead.
Well, there's some interesting things coming out of Turkey right now. They're finding, of course, Göbekli Tepe and these other sites, but they found one under a lake that, it goes way back. And they did some excavating, like from the ground about 25 feet down. There's these primitive pottery and primitive tools, and then there's like another 10 feet. There's nothing, and that might be the great deluge we had, the great flood, what happened. But when you go below that, then you get into higher tech things that were more sophisticated than it was the first 25 feet down. So that's interesting. I've been recently trying to research, the real timeline of Earth, and it goes way back. And some of the things that are in the Bible, I kind of tend to think that the Old Testament is the newest version of the history.
Bingo.
Yes. And
I believe there's been multiple incarnations of people here.
Yes.
We might be like the fourth generation. This earth has been used before.
Yes. Yes. Like Thoth might even been Thoth of Atlantis said, I am the Son of Man. And Jesus said the same thing. I'm the Son of Man. And it's in the old text that go way back and farther than the Bible. But so yeah, I'm starting to figure this out. I've been checking out Billy Carson and Matthew LaCroix. They got a new book called The Epic of Humanity, and they're kind of getting this timeline down, but they're also, studying that these, like you said, and the Bible cut this out. They cut out the reincarnation deal, but it doesn't mention it in there. But I think
we can talk about reincarnation. Well, actually, it does mention reincarnation. If you go into Matthew, who was John the Baptist?
Yeah,
he was Elijah, and then Jesus actually makes a point to say, if you can accept it, he is Elijah, the spirit of Elijah. And reincarnation, you touched on a subject that's pretty dear to me.
Yeah,
I totally not only believe in, I know exist. Okay, it was an accepted tenet in the early church.
Right.
Origen was considered the brightest mind the early church ever had, and he totally believed in it. It was okay to talk about. It was accepted for hundreds of years. It wasn't until Jerome started putting the Bible together that he turned against Origen and weeded a lot of that stuff out. And then about 700 years later, you had other people weeded out, Theodora, for example, and to the point that it's not in there anymore. And, that kind of goes against people that want to think the Bible's the same today as it was back then. And the Bible has been changed and been changed and been changed.
Yes.
I mean, I don't even know where to begin with that. It changes at the very beginning.
Yes.
In fact, the original word was bara. And that has been mistranslated all through these years as create. God did not create. God divided.
Yeah.
Bingo. I mean, it starts right there. That was the original Hebrew word that was used, was bara, B-A-R-A. It was a division. It wasn't a creation. And that plays into the hand of several things. If you read the book, The Assumption of Moses, which is referred to indirectly, we realize that this God that came was a visitation. The actual word is visitation.
Right.
They came here, they visited for a while, and then they left. Exactly what John chapter 14 says. Jesus needs to go away. The Father's already away. Jesus had to go to the Father. I mean, how do you go someplace if you're already supposed to be there again? We talked about how does a God go down if they're omnipotent and already supposed to be there. Nobody's ever answered that question for me. This Old Testament God goes down 19 times, but Jesus goes, and then they send the Holy Spirit back to us. So it's just something that you need to consider now and connect the dots.
Right.
And those dots really started to connect for me. Once I've started studying on my own and getting away from the church dogma and church agenda, which you need to believe exactly here. There's one male God. His name is Yahweh. He is creator. He is over all the universe, over everything. He knows every hair on your head. He knows every grain of sand on the beach. It goes on and on. It's all malarkey. I'm being honest. It's malarkey.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It's because
but it made the church powerful. Oh boy, was it powerful in the Middle Ages?
Yeah.
I mean, that's all, the only game in town. And then of course they had Jerome put the Bible into Latin. Guess what? Nobody could read Latin unless you were very, very rich, well-to-do, and had connections. Could you even see a book?
Right. And you got to believe
accept
what
you were taught. You had to drink the Kool-Aid. Everybody drank the Kool-Aid. And eventually we got to the point it was so bad that Martin Luther, of course, was excommunicated, like you, Deb. And, we got to the point where it broke off and the church has, finally gotten its act together. The Pope now has, done some apologizing as early as 1992 and even into the 2000s, apologizing what they did to Galileo, apologizing what they did to the natives in North and South America, and that kind of thing. So they've made a turn. But if you go back and look at church history, and everything that happened with the Crusades and the Inquisitions, especially. And I mean, we're talking millions of people were slaughtered and killed.
Right.
And some of them, not very mercifully, I might add, they were
Right.
tortured.
Right.
And the means of torture for some of those people, I mean, it's as bad as it can get. I mean, they would slice them open and pour gunpowder in and explode
Yes.
them, that kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
just terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, what do you think about the story that, I mean, it might not be a story, it might be real, that because the Bible talks about Jesus up to, I think, age 12 and then 32, but
Where's all
there's,
of Jesus's life, right?
well, yeah, like he might have went to Egypt and studied under the priest there. He might have went to Far East and studied Reiki and healing from the Buddhist, maybe. And this is what the information that some people are saying. And then came back and became the Jesus that we know. So what do you feel about that? Why do you think that was left out? Or
Well, because they wanted to create this agenda. There's stuff from age 1 to 12 that Jesus did that may not fit real well with what they want Jesus to be and what they want us to think Jesus was.
right.
You know, he killed somebody and then had to bring that person back to life. And as he grew up in those years, he made a clay dove fly. There's little things like that are in some of the books that were weeded out of the Bible.
Right.
But from what happened from age 12 up to about age 30, that seems to be the big mystery. There's a lot of stuff missing there from the books that we have. But in my mind now, and I've progressed a lot, I'm receptive of all religions, if you want to call Christianity religion.
Right.
Learn to meditate and focus on things. And I realized that he might have very well have gone to India or to Egypt. And it's funny you mentioned Egypt. I have read 23 books on the Great Pyramid. That's why I really went to Egypt. It's been a fascination with me since I was a child.
Right.
But out of all the books I've read, and I'm gonna show one right here to you. This
Okay.
one makes the most sense if you can see it. It's by Tony Bushby, The Secret in the Bible. Let's see if I can
Keeps
get that up.
disappearing.
It looks.
I know. What's it doing? There.
There we go.
Yeah.
Hold
There
it.
we go.
There you go.
This is the best one I have read out of the 23. It even surpasses Christopher Dunn. Back when Jesus was alive, to be anybody, you had to be a graduate of one of these mystery schools.
Right.
There was a mystery school at the Great Pyramid called the
Yes.
Black Panthers. A part of me says, and he would agree with me, that Jesus went there, and that's what the Great Pyramid was actually used for. It was an initiation chamber, and he guides you all the way through it, exactly what it's used for, exactly what the sarcophagus was used for, how all this worked. And Jesus made it out and was initiated, and that built up his stature amongst the people. And then you also have to wonder, this God, why didn't he kill all these other gods? Because they're all related. They all have power. It might create wars in heaven. And we've already had wars in heaven. But this Jesus, without a doubt, I believe he tried to teach his disciples an upper level of knowledge. We know for a fact, this is biblical, there were two, see my two fingers, levels of knowledge. He taught the masses the lower level, including parables, but he taught his disciples that he saw almost face to face for 2.5 years, upper level knowledge. And a lot of that upper level knowledge a lot of it was Gnosticism, of what we term Gnostic.
Yeah.
That was weeded out of the Bible. It didn't
Right.
fit the agenda. It was
Yeah.
too far out there to make this new Christianity, viable. You couldn't go around teaching that stuff to a common day Jew or a Gentile and expect them to join your faith. They don't even know what you're talking about.
Right.
So all that was weeded out. So I have, made it a point to go back and read all that stuff that I can get my hands on. And I've got all of it on the computer. It just, you can only do so much, but I've read about 15 of the books that were expelled, plus the Dedicae, which I put in one of my books. And of course, the Book of Thomas, I'm going to publish that in the book I'm writing now, but that's in the second book that I wrote. And you realize that truly these bodies that we have are nothing but a shell.
Right.
The spirit lives.
Right.
The spirit was most likely alive before it incarnated into this body. And I'm somewhat affiliated with the Shared Crossing Project. If you've ever heard of that, it has to do with shared death experiences, which is a cousin to near-death experiences. I'm sure you've heard of near-death experiences.
Yeah.
Shared death experiences for our audience is when you're there with your dying loved one, you actually become an active participant in that person's crossing over. And we are realizing now that is fact. It's not fiction.
Right.
Even one of my friends, Reverend Barbara DeLong, has had that experience herself. She is an experiencer of that. We were alive before we were born, and we're going to be alive after we die. So
Right.
I know reincarnation exists. Without a fact, we may have had a say-so in these lives that we have now to work on issues that we needed to work on.
Yeah, I agree with you.
From looking at myself inside, which I've just learned to do within the last 4 years.
Right. Right.
Good for you. Good for you. And I do a lot of past life regression. So what I'm talking
about.
Totally on board with all of that. And I'm very into people opening up to it in using the abilities to look back at our past lives to heal and be able to move forward.
We're all here for a reason. I know that for a fact.
Oh,
we're all on our own paths. No two of us are alike.
Right.
But yet, in a way, we're all alike. We're all brothers and sisters.
Yeah. I agree. And we're all striving for the same place, same
Exactly.
love and
love is the common denominator.
Yeah.
In my book now.
Yeah.
Of the universe. It's in everything.
Yeah.
And it's a part of us all. And everything vibrates. Everything has a frequency.
Yeah.
These were words that I would have been laughed at in the Baptist church.
Right.
But let me tell you, everything has a frequency, whether it's quartz, whether it's a rock sitting on your desk, whether it's just whatever, a piece of wood. Everything has a frequency. And it has been proven now in quantum physics, you can take a tuning fork, let's say B flat, and ding it. And you may have 15 other tuning forks in your room, but only the B flat's going to ding or vibrate. And that's the way it works in the universe. I honestly believe time and distance, guess what? It might work for us here and we may view it the way we view it, but you're going to be in for a big awakening outside this body. Time and distance means nothing.
Right.
Yeah. It's like even in the Bible, it says in the beginning, there was the word, right? The word, the word's vibration. And I think that was just vibrating out. Creation is vibrating, and that certain frequencies created a certain physical body, whatever, a physical.
I know you've had maybe some ghosts on your programs or people that talk about ghosts.
We do that too.
Yeah, mine now. I know you do. I read about you before I came on your program. But in my mind now, you wonder. I get the paranormal channel and I watch it quite a bit, so I know ghosts exist, and I knew that already.
Right.
But you just wonder with some of the Aborigines people that would bring spirits or see spirits, they were able to take their brain waves down to the alpha level.
Yeah.
And there seems to be some kind of interaction when that happens. And if that's the way it is, then these different, what we call different dimensions, are probably right here, right beside us right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's just a matter of frequency or vibration,
Yep.
or however you want to look at it. But they're right here with us right now.
And you said look at it. I know you're aware that the human being only sees like 32% of
Oh
the
yeah,
light spectrum.
oh yeah,
So
oh yeah.
if we could see gamma
That's why I asked Bill if he had an infrared camera, because
Yeah.
you can see crafts in the sky with the infrared that
right,
we cannot see with our naked eye,
right,
and they're out there.
yeah,
Oh boy, are they?
Oh yes, they are. Yes, they are. I saw my craft about 1 year before the clips came on TV, so I felt vindicated then.
The what came out?
I saw my craft about 1 year before the clips came out on TV.
Of the
Oh,
Tic Tacs.
okay,
Yeah, of the Tic Tac.
yeah, nice.
And as an
So I feel
experiencer,
vindicated then, because that was exactly what I saw.
yeah, yeah. And once you have that awakening, where you no longer believe something, but you know it, you just know it, you do become obsessed. You become so passionate about getting that information out there and sharing it with people so they're aware.
Well, I'm just like the people that did the petroglyphs or the geoglyphs. I saw something, it changed me. I want to share it. So I'm doing what I can do by writing in the books, trying to get people to open their eyes that this stuff has been here all along with us, and what we have been taught is partial truths, not total truths. We've been led down a very narrow path as to what reality is and to what truth is, and a lot of that is wrong, just dead wrong.
Right, and I think it's important that people like you are playing a role to help us transcend into this newer reality, this newer truth. And it doesn't take anything away, really.
Oh no,
Yeah,
I'm still
at
a
all.
Jesus geek. I mean,
Right.
we talk every day.
Yeah. So it's important that we just, like you said, we open our hearts, open our minds, and expand our consciousness to even greater things that was created.
And that just may, if we can get this happening around the world, it may bring on disclosure, because
Right.
we're being watched all the time.
Right.
I mean, I think it will happen when they want it to happen.
Yeah.
And you can interpret whoever
Yeah.
or however you would wish, but
Many days. Yeah. Many days. So, yeah. It's I said, we'll say that louder for the people in the back, RJ. So many close-minded peeps out there. Yeah. Yeah. It's just, we are growing as a human race, and that's what we need to do. We need to realize we need to take down the borders. We need to just, realize we're all one in this great, beautiful multiverse.
I totally agree with you on that, but of course we're not ready for that yet. But
Yeah.
that's the ultimate Star Trekian world I would like to see. No hunger, no wars,
Right.
and no borders, because we're all Earthlings. We're all on this planet, and we need
Right.
to consider ourselves just one inhabitant of this planet.
Yep.
And by the way, if you're Jewish, you probably know that this Yahweh God, their God, monitors 18,000 planets. That is in
Right.
their scriptures. So
Right.
so we're just one, and that's probably where he is now. And it's not incorrect if you're talking about Yahweh to use the pronoun he, because he is a he, and he was actually had a consort by the name of Asherah, another god.
Mm-hmm.
So either he had Asherah or El had Asherah. There's conflicting information, but Asherah was another god that definitely existed, even venerated in the temple after Solomon. So there were multiple gods. So when people say, who's the God of the Bible, I'll say, which God now? It's not, there is no the God of the Bible for me, unless you're referring to Jesus Christ in the New Testament. You might consider him God, but even he has a father, and he has to go to the Father. And I view Jesus and God as two separate entities. I probably disagree with mainstream Christianity. I mean, who did Jesus talk to when he was on the cross? And why can't Jesus know when the second coming's happening? And the Father knows that. He doesn't. So there's two separate things there. Jesus may sit at the right hand, but who's sitting on the throne? The same thing maybe that Ezekiel saw, the same throne that maybe John the Baptist or John in Revelation saw. So I'm just asking. For me, the Trinity makes no sense. It makes no sense at all. Three separate entities, so to speak, but I don't see them equal in any way, shape, or fashion.
Right. Well, fortunately, all our shows go way too fast.
Especially this one.
It can't be.
I have so many questions.
Yeah, we have so many questions.
Okay, ask
really
away.
look
I'll try to condense my answers.
Well,
none of them have short answers. But what I'd like you to do, Wally, is tell the people a little bit about your two books that are out and where they can get them, and when is your third book coming out?
Well, let me take the last question first. I hate to say, but I don't know. It keeps getting extended.
Right. And we understand
I'm trying to condense. Trying to condense information now, so it won't be so blooming long. I'm hoping maybe late summer.
Okay.
That might go into the fall. The two books I have out. The first, of course, is Crossing the Crevasse. It's where I started. It was written about 4 years after I saw the craft. This is what it looks like now. It's in second edition. Let me get that picture right.
In front of
in front of you. Yep.
There we go.
Nice.
Okay.
Change the picture a little bit on the front. That's a typical craft. It worked out better when I changed the size. This was the original first edition.
Okay.
That is exactly what I saw right there, which is the white tic-tac, about 50 feet by 30 feet, and that's a guess. The second book I wrote, Within Grasp, went off in a little bit of a different way. I interviewed Barbara DeLong, Reverend Barbara DeLong. I interviewed Reverend Michael Carter, interviewed Dr. Paul Smith with remote viewing, interviewed Dr. Barry Downing, who was the first preacher. You're both shaking your heads yes, so that admitted and that there were UFOs in the Bible.
Yeah.
And then went off on some of my thoughts on how we made a god back around Vanuatu and back in the Solomon Islands in World War II with what's called the John Frum cult. We would drop items down to the natives or down to our troops, and some of the natives intercepted them. And the plane became God, and we went back and they'd actually made a replica of the plane out of sticks. And that cult is still in existence today. That's how easy it is to make a god. These gods who all came down, they had special powers. We misinterpreted them. We called them gods. Go ahead.
My friend, I'm sorry, but our producer is telling us we've got to wrap it up because we've got more shows. I know. And we'll have you back on.
Yes.
I would love that. I would love
that.
We'll
have you back on, and we'll continue.
I'm sensing you have a lot of questions that I would love to give answers.
Okay. Listen, thank you so much for being a guest tonight, and we will keep in touch.
Okay. Enjoyed it immensely.
All right. Peace and love, man.
Wonderful. Everybody
thank you.
Have a fantastic week. And until we see you next week.
Bless you both. Bless you both. Thank you.
Be mystical. Good night. Thank you all.
Good night. Bye-bye.